Okay, you can see on the bench now I've got the high-low basket, and look, it looks like a bell. This contains all the high-low and the bits and pieces for the high-low inside. Now, the main shaft in the centre here, that goes up into the clutch plate of the tractor. So when you put your foot on the clutch, this stops spinning, this bit here. Now, this outside spline, on your tractor, on the clutch cover, there's a fixed plate in there with a fixed spline, and they're often a sprung hub to take the shock loading out of everything, but this one turns the whole time that your tractor is running. This one turns until you put your foot on the clutch, then this one stops. So we have a seal up here, and this seal is in the transmission case. We have a bush that supports this. It's also supported at this end with the spigot bearing or the pilot bearing in the clutch, or in the flywheel, I'm sorry, and it has a thrust washer here to take out the end float. Now, this end here, this is supported by the needle bearing on the transmission pump, and this drive in here, that's what drives your transmission pump. Now, you'll see a little spline inside there. That remains fixed, as in that's the small part of the shaft in your actually on your tranny pump. Then this here, because it turns all the time, it's supported here, and it drives your transmission pump. So whilst ever your tractor is running, you have transmission pressure. So it's quite a heavy assembly, but the main basket is supported here, and then this shaft inside and some of the high-low stuff, it's just supported inside with bushes and that. So look, all we're going to do here, the reason for pulling all this apart, we've got another aeroplane. They must be doing test flights today. I've got aeroplanes going everywhere overhead. But the idea of pulling this apart, this isn't a video of putting it together. This is just stripping it. I need to strip it at the moment to see if I need any parts while I'm putting a parts order in. So we'll start off. These are just they're 5/16 bolts with a half spanner fits them. You can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 John Deere bolts, 5 John Deere bolts and a ring in. So something's happened at some stage. So we'll just pop these out and pull the end cover off. Half-inch spanner fits it. It's 5/16 UNC bolt, and they look to be 3/4 of an inch long. Right, we'll pop our bolts over there for safekeeping. Now, this little basket here, so the end plate, sometimes you need to get a little screwdriver or something in behind this and give it a bit of a tap, but no, we're good. And you'll notice there's a couple of dowels. When we go back, there's one here. Actually, there's only one dowel. I thought there was two. There you go. Learn something new every day. Now, this is just the end plate. I thought it might have had a thrust in there. I'll have to look up the parts book and see. But now, if we tip this up on the bench, we can line it up properly. And we can take the outer shell off. So on the outer shell we have another seal. This seal here seals on here between the two shafts. We have a thrust washer to stop the end movement, and that looks like new, that one. And we have a support bush in here. So there's a support bush on the outside of the bell here, out here. Then straight inside there's another one to support the inner. So for the moment we're going to sit that aside. This is the fun bit. This is our high-low. So this fella here, that the splines on that go into the first set of clutch plates here. So that transfers drive until the clutch is done up, or until hydraulic pressure jams the clutch together. Now that surface there is a tad rough, but look, I think it'll be okay. But I will check. I did think there was a thrust in here. Actually, both places, but I may be wrong. I'll have to read my book. Okay. Now, there's nothing too scary about this. Let's just undo these fellas. Oh, yes, that's something. You've got long bolts and short bolts, and the short bolts hold the cover on here. You can just undo the long bolts, and yeah, let's just do that just to show you. Now you can see a little bit of discoloration here. Yep, you can see that on the camera, I believe. So this has been hot at some stage. I don't believe it's been hot since I've owned it. Someone's been in here. So we can pull the long bolts out. I'll leave this little one out for the moment. And the front cover here comes off then. There we go. That's one pack. And look, we're a bit lucky here. We're a bit lucky. Someone's put the steel linings in here. Now, the paper linings, I hate them in a high-low. So they're metal linings. And look, that's just brand new. There's nothing wrong with that. We checked these plates for that there's no buckle, there's no major discoloration, and that it's true. And look, this was working well. I just thought it's just silly to get this far into the tractor and not check it out. But look, those plates are great. I'm going to use those again. Now, this input shaft, he just pulls out of there, and you have a couple of sealing rings here, and that brings oil. Remember our little shaft that we did check the pipe, the internal pipe on? Well, it sits up here, so the oil that comes up through there comes out here, and that engages this clutch pack. I can't remember which high-low bit works and which is which, but you know, high clutch, low brake and all that. I just can't remember that at the moment. But that now brings us to this section here. Now, someone came into the shop recently and they had someone do up their high-low. Look, I think that's the story. And they were doing up the high-low, and they put it together, started the tractor, and went bang. This is a compound planetary. Now, I might just try and zoom in and show you that there's timing marks here. So we'll just zoom in a bit if I can. Yep, and you may see this little mark. We'll follow this top one here. There's one there. Then when that comes around, that has to line up. See, there's another timing mark there and one here. And you can do like 200 turns before they line up. But when this machine goes back together, it's important to know to time this planetary. You need to time that. It's not optional, it's just something you have to do. So these little pins here, these planetary gears, I'll just wipe my hands, they're getting a bit grubby from the splines on these shafts. So what we'll do, I'll stand up here and I'll grab a pair of, will that go small enough? Probably not. My drawer's getting too full. It's no good when you fill up your drawer. Okay, so these pins, they come out. And you'll notice there's a little ball here. The little ball's there to stop it turning. That locates the pin. So into the housing to stop it turning. So the gears can turn on the pin, and that's the wearing part. Okay, I'll zoom back out again, just so you get the full picture of what I'm doing. And I'm not chatting away to you there. You can't see what I'm bloody well doing. Anyway, Wouldn't be the first one. So we pull these out. Then when we pop these gears out, there's a thrust washer on each side. We look for wear there. That's got a little bit of a watermark. You can just see the little bit of a watermark there. And we have 2 needle bearings in there and they touch each other. Now on the 3140, on the 40 and 50 series, there's a spacer between those. But it's a similar setup, same but different, if you know what I mean. So look, they look okay. Now on this shaft here, these do get worn, and look, that's as good as anything. So I'll just pop that there. It's a noisy day in the shed today. I've got wind blowing, planes, the shed's starting to creak, but anyway, I've bought all these new microphones, so I think I'm on top of it. Oh, that's tight. I'll try this fella. No, look, that's a bit firm. Well, the other way of doing this, we just get a 1/4 UNC bolt and put in it, so hold tight, I'll go and grab a bolt. Now I'm back. 3, 2, okay, I'm back. I found a couple of 1/4 UNC bolts in my spare parts box. And I've got a great little punch here I use at times. If I can find my knockometer, technical term there. We'll do the same here. Oh, come on. I need a bit of a handle, don't I? I'll see if I can put a bit of pressure on here and pull him out at the same time. There we go. Look, that's probably a good thing, it's firm. Once again, we give him a wipe. Check for any wear. Look, that's fine. I'm not concerned about that at all. We pop all that in there. And at this stage, or it doesn't matter when you do it, have a look on both sides of the gears, see if there's any hardening going, if there's any major wear there at all. Ours are looking pretty good. I am pleased with it. I'll be pleased if these come out easier. But look, this is a good thing really. You don't want them slopping around in the housing, but it's a while since I've had one like this. But anyway, it's a while since I've had one of these apart, so I'm running on memory here. There you go. And it's important that you drop shit on the floor or else you're not having much of a go. Hang on, I'll get that. And nothing needs to be washed at this stage. We're just popping stuff back together, and we're on an exploratory really, just to make sure I don't need to order any extra parts. If I do, now's the time, save having 27 lots of freight. So, God, I'm dropping shit all over the place here. And I just noticed the little balls falling out when that fell. So that's on the to-do list. Find that ball. And this fella here. Now this is the one I'd like to bring your attention to, the timing marks. on it. And look, I'll probably flap my gums a lot about these timing marks, but it really is that important. You see it there, little V, and we'll just pick a gear, any old gear, and you can see a V, if I can get the camera to focus, just there. So be aware of that, it really is important, because the thrust washer sits in under here. And look, someone's been in here, and I knew that, but you still got to visit it. You know, you can't split the tractor and go to all this trouble and then just put it back together and, oh shit, I should have done the high-low. And so let's have a look here. That's good, no wear marks there. And once again, we're lucky enough to have steel plates. The PDO had cardboard linings. I'm not going to put any new plates in here. That's as I would like to see. So look, we are fortunate there. We do have to put 10 new PDO plates into this tractor, but the high-low plates, look, I'm just tickled pink with that. That's a good outcome. So you may notice here, there's a couple of clutch packs, and these are Belleville springs here. And there's one here and there's one over in this piece over here. So those of you who watch my channel will know that I did field service on John Deere for years and years and years. Had my own business and that's just what I did. And so over the time we had to make our own tools for things, to do things in the paddock. So I've actually made a little tool here, and I've just had a mate Dave draw this up for me, and I'm not sure where it will be hosted at the moment, but I also own a business in Australia called Queensland Tractor Spares, and on the technical pages of Queensland Tractor Spares, we're putting a lot of info on bits and pieces. And if you have an electronic document that you'd like us to host there, we're putting it there. So what this item does, it comes down here and it puts tension on these Belleville springs so we can get the clutch pack out and have a look what the piston sealing rings are doing. So before we get too excited there, I'll put that over there with the other. I should have a nice pair of snap ring pliers here that I'm going to need. These fellas here, I don't know what brand they are. Here we go, ABW. Part number 70164-1, made in the USA. I probably had to mortgage my house to get them, really. But wouldn't it be bad if it was snap-on? I'd still be paying them off, but I own that outright now, so I'm pretty pleased with myself, yeah. Okay, the idea of this tool is we just need to compress these Belleville springs here, and by compressing these, we can pop it apart. So there's a couple of bits to this. I've made different plates for different bits and pieces over the years, and look, really this is just a bit of 10mm key steel that we welded together, a bit of half, actually that looks like 5/8 UNC all threaded rod, and I've just made the plates to suit. So it's not technical, it's a handiest thing though. And so all we do, we put a plate at the back there, we wind him up. I'll try and get it to where, there's the ends of the circlip, so you don't want that right in the middle there. Oh well, you don't want it where there's a leg, you want it in the middle where you can get to it. Okay, so at this stage we're just starting to take the load, and we'll try and get this in the centre. Which is about, look, about there. About there, then I'll move it. And so we just need enough tension on there. You can see we've just taken the tension off. So now we can safely pop the snap ring off. That's why I call them snap ring, because you always miss it. Bloody thing. Oops, so there's the snap ring. Now we let the tension off this. Make sure they're loose. Yep. Homemade tools, I love them. Okay, so we've released the tension on the Belleville washers here, and a Belleville washer is it's a washer with a curve in it, and so the two big ends go together, and then the two small ends go together. So normally you start with a small end touching down on a housing or something, and in this instance the small end is pushing against that aluminum, whatever you'd like to call it, piston. So as the oil comes into the clutch pack, it pushes against here, jams the clutch plates tight enough to drive, and then when the oil pressure is taken away, you've flicked the high-low valve and we've taken the oil away, well, these push the piston back so that the plates don't drag and you have a nice free thing. So sometimes if these plates get cooked up, yeah, these springs aren't strong enough, even with the piston pushed back completely, the plates are that buckled that there's no gap between them. So we can pop these springs out and we'll put them, well, it just doesn't matter where we put them, does it? Now this piston here, it should come out, and I like to just do this and drop shit everywhere. So I'll take that out on a block of wood and do that. So we'll just pop him over there for the moment. We've got this other one to do, and I'll take them both out together. So when we have a look at this fella, boy, it's getting windy outside. I'll have to have a... Yeah, you can actually hear it in my videos in the background. I can see it on the screen. So I'll just drop that back a bit. Yeah, very noisy. I'll have to stop videoing shortly. And we just put this other plate here. An exact same setup. Whoop. We'll wind this fella down here. Yeah, I can see on my screen, I have a little sound recording screen going, and I can see the wind in the background is just getting too noisy to continue. So we'll get this out, try and line him up in the centre if we can, get him as close as we possibly can. There we go, that'll do anyway. Once again, we just compress those Belleville washers. We try and get the spring off without swearing. There we go. Good to be handy, eh? And now we can back this off. Once again, we have the Belleville springs, Belleville washers. And look, you'll find these broken sometimes. If there's anything wrong with them, if they haven't got a dish in them, you can put them down there and just check they've got a nice dish in them. And these all look good. They're interchangeable, it doesn't matter if you mix and match. And then this piece here, we'll have to go and give that a bump on a bit of wood. All right, I'll go and bump them on a bit of wood, and I'll show you what's inside. There's an O-ring here, and some numbers stick in your head, and I'm pretty sure the number for the inside rubber, they have a rubber on the inside and they have a cast iron ring on the outside, and I'm bloody sure it's R39304, but look, that's just what I think it is. Some numbers stick in your head. All right, so I'll go and do that, and we'll come back in a moment. Okay, I've bashed them against a block of wood outside, and here we are. Now, that should... bloody fell out outside. Oh well, it's hard to get good help, eh? Try and bring him out square. And there's our piston. It's an aluminium piston. Aluminium, we say in Australia. And it has a dowel to stop it turning. We have a piston ring here that seals the outer, and we have a quad ring inside. And you need to make sure that quad ring's touching the outside. It's doing its job. Another thing you look for, because if there's been any metal through the system, sometimes these surfaces here where the quad ring goes, where the piston seal goes, they get scuffed here. So I usually get these and I get a bit of 600 wet and dry, and I polish these all around before I put it back together and make sure it's okay. Another test we do is, I usually like to have a new ring around if we can, but we bring this in, make him level, and see what sort of gap you got there. So you can see with this gap, that's a fair old gap probably. I may look at replacing that one. So I'll leave him there. I'd like a new one to try it and see what the gap is. I can't remember what that gap is supposed to be. Sometimes with these jobs you get mechanics and everything gets replaced just as an arse covering measure. That's not mechanicking, that's fitting. You're a fitter if you're doing that. And this is the exact same thing. That O-ring's in good order in there, that quad ring. And you'll notice one's way cleaner than the other. I don't know what the story is there. But anyway, that's it. That's the video on stripping the high-low assembly. And like I say, the only reason I've done that is to know what parts I need to order. If I needed to order clutch plates, piston rings, sealing rings and all that sort of thing to know what I needed. I think I've got out very lightly with this job. It's not one that's going to take a lot of parts, but I'm glad I've bothered to take the time now to check it out. And when I get my parts, I'll pop all this away in a box so I don't roll shit off the bench. And when we get the parts we need, like there has to be a new seal in the bell and things like that. There's no use having this out and not replacing the seals where it can leak oil into your clutch housing. So we'll tidy all that up, we'll get all that ready, and when we're ready to rock and roll, we'll do a video on putting it all back together again.